Okay, great. So let's chat about letting go. Okay. So many things that I want to say about this. I think the marketing of letting go is very juicy and delectable, and we want it. We want it. We want this idea of letting go because it sounds so delicious. If we could just let go of this sort of proverbial suitcase of feelings we don't want to have, or sensations, or thoughts, or beliefs, like, oh, wouldn't that be so great if I could just let go of, then I could to fill in the blank, right? We have so many different um, conditions attached to this idea of letting go. We're sort of just in this waiting point of like, well, once I can just drop that drop that off and never have to pick it back up, then everything's going to be infinitely easier. And you're not wrong. Like, you're not wrong. I mean, wouldn't it be great to not feel frustration, overwhelm, anger, like you list it, fear, doubt, anxious thoughts, depressive thoughts? Like, of course, wouldn't our life be so different if we didn't have those? Um, but then we wouldn't be a human. We would be a robot, right? And we're human. And one of the most beautiful things about humans is that we have this plethora of emotions that we can tune into. Okay, so this idea of letting go, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it in relationship to mindset and healing. And I've talked a lot about this. In fact, I did a series about this last week around this, and I want to talk about it when it comes to mindset and healing together, because they really both work together. Oftentimes, mindset is sold as this kind of we'll do this, say this, do this practice, and then you're gonna. It's like this conditional piece of like, if you do the mindset work around this, then you'll have this, right? Like, this will be your reward. This will be the end, and it's kind of given as like a promise too. Like, if you do this, then you'll feel this, have this, be this. And so, first off, it's not totally wrong, right? Mindset is a really important piece of like the whole experience of being human, moving toward what is meant for you, moving toward your birthright, moving toward it in a sovereign way. Like, mindset is part of that, right? Um, but the repair work and the healing is also part of this. Because really, what mindset is there to help you shift a belief. That's what letting go is. Shifting a belief so that you can let go of the way you used to look at something, right? If you used to look at money as like the source of all evil, but yet here you are just like, in fine, it's the source of all evil, then you're in this battle with it all the time. And if you'd rather not have those feelings or that frustration, like, I just want to let go of, not, never having enough, that's a big shift, right? For one person to have. That's a big shift because um, the part of that that's really happening in your system is a very real. There's a real reason why you feel that way, why you have those beliefs, right? So shifting beliefs from the top up, like, I no longer am available to believe this or feel this, or trying to set these sort of metaphoric boundaries. And we're doing it from the head up. So we're just using our mind to like access the belief change. We're going to limit ourselves because when we shift a belief, we're changing the way that we see ourselves and identity. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this because this is like a really important piece around the identity. Like, beliefs are inherently tied to that. But if you're going to shift a belief about the way you feel about something or someone, or even aspects of yourself, if you're shifting that belief, what you're asking really, you're asking to shift that belief, but first you need to honor the fact that there's healing to do around the ways it was never safe to have that belief in the first place, right? And so if you struggle to feel trusting of your process, I trust myself, it's safe to be me. Like, what's possible if you could really anchor into that and really embody that? It's safe to be me and I trust myself, right? Is it safe to be you? Do you trust yourself? So when we're asking to shift these beliefs, because like, hey, what's possible if that's true for you? Like, probably a hell of a lot of things, right? But when we're shifting those beliefs, we have to recognize that we have to heal the ways that those were not safe beliefs to have in the first place. So if it doesn't feel safe, you won't go for it. If it doesn't feel safe, you won't trust it. And a lot of the reasons why things don't feel safe is because before they really weren't. It wasn't safe to believe in myself, because if I did believe in myself, I'd go do that thing. And then I would put myself out there in a vulnerable space for people to reject me. And I learned that that's not safe. Getting rejected is not a safe feeling in my body. It's not a safe sensation in my body. It's not a safe experience. And I will create parts of me that will protect me from that. So when you're asking to shift your beliefs, you're basically saying all the different versions of me that have been, or parts of me that have the important job of protecting me, are no longer relevant. And I'm just going to kick them to the curb. But these protectors that you've created inside your system, they're not just gonna leave willy-nilly. Like, they're not just gonna be like, oh yeah, you're good, thanks, cool. Like, no. They're not just gonna do that. And so when we're doing the mindset work, it must be in relationship to the healing and the repairing of a system that's set up to keep you safe in ways that it doesn't need to do anymore. Okay, so I want to plot that down there. So one of the things we do all the time, and let me just, I love doing the live on the Zoom. It's super fun. But I also, Anita, hi Anita. I also have to try and keep tabs of my comments, and I apologize if I'm not getting them, but just know that I'm going to like read them and I'm going to do my best. So let me just plop this in. Okay. Yes, we want to let go. Yes, mindset is there to help us release ourselves from old conditions or old ways of being or old belief systems that are no longer relevant and will not help you move forward in the way that your birthright and your sovereign path. Okay. So letting go and using mindset to do that is extremely important. In fact, it's like, it's the anchoring, right? And we have to remember that letting go on an emotional level, which we are emotional beings, we have, I talked a lot about this last week. Think of it like a pie or a medicine wheel, whatever feels good for you. And that we have these 4 sections. We've been gifted a body, we've been gifted a spirit, we've been gifted some emotional aspects, we've been gifted a mind, right? And in the emotionality that we are, that lives energetically in the body. So this is why when I do the work, it's not just mindset or healing, it's like this quantum level that we work on as well, right? It's this quantum level, which is the unseen, it's the undescribable, but it's the felt sensation of the healing work, of the mindset work, of the visioning, of the alignment, of all of that. It's the emotionality is directly tied to that felt sense, right? And so the letting go, we have to remember, if we're going to say, yeah, I'm just going to let go of this part of me, or like, I'm no longer available for this, or this isn't how I see life, like, that's amazing. But now you have to remember that that's going to leave you, or leave your emotional parts, or leave parts of you feeling unprotected. Okay, feeling unprotected. It's going to trigger parts of you that are worried you have a loss of control. It's if I let go, I can no longer control this, or I can no longer, be so trying to puppeteer the whole thing and organizing it all. If I let go of that part of me, I can't do that anymore. And the next thing that's going to happen is I'm vulnerable to pain, abandonment, rejection. I'm vulnerable to things that I don't even have a word for, but it's a felt sense. You see what I'm saying? It's a felt sense. So letting go in our minds and in our body can equate to I'm not protected anymore. So if you're wondering why letting go is hard, like in whatever letting go you're working on right now, or you're being with right now, or you're healing through, if it doesn't feel like it's working, I see you. I get it. And I want to just normalize why that is. I just want to normalize why that is, because I think we all have that part that wants to know why. Right? What is the meaning of all this? Why is it happening this way? That's why. Because our system is consistently devoted to staying safe. Protected, And so if we're going to let go, then our system is going to be on high alert to like, ooh, if we don't believe this anymore, if we don't have this anymore, then we've got a loss of control. We're not protected. Shifting your identity threatens a system that is based on security, safety, belonging in the only way that it's ever known. And for many of us, I'm just going to say it, for many of us, we're operating like we're still 12. And I mean that in no shady way at all, like at all. It's just that our system got activated and put into like, oh my God, this is really the way the world is. This is really how things work. Okay, well, we're just going to have to be like this. This is the way relationships are. This is the way I have to be with people. And so we start developing these stress responses that we can almost rely on happening when we feel unsafe, right? What's your go-to emotion when you feel unsafe? What's your go-to? Some of us get angry. Some of us get frustrated at ourselves, and we betray our humanity and our humanness, and we make ourselves the problem. To do that, I'm a problem to solve, right? And so we have these responses, or like, holy shit, I've got to fix all this because the whole damn world is on my shoulders. It's all my fault. I'm the problem. I keep making mistakes, right? So we betray our humanity, we betray ourselves, and we make ourselves the problem. So that can be a stress response. Making sure everybody else is taken care of. I got to make sure if everybody else is okay, then I'm okay, right? If I stay in this emotion, I'm going to fall into this like pit in the earth. I'm going to fall into a deep crevice and hole in the darkness, and I'll never find my way out again. Or the umbilical cord is snapped and I'm floating out into space with nothing to hold me. So when we're talking about letting go, I just want to normalize that this is the undercurrent of what is happening, and as a felt, lived, as a memory, as something that's passed generationally. These are the things that are happening inside of us, even if we're not aware of it, even if we can't articulate it. But these are this felt sense, this felt memory, this felt projection for the future. These are all the things around why it's so hard to let go, because your system's devoted to holding, right? Holding on to any sense of identity or belief that's going to keep you safe in the world. And so this is why people will seemingly sabotage themselves, like, oh, I'm on the way for things getting great. I'm just going to make sure that this is the right move, that I'm supported. And so I'm just going to throw a temper tantrum around and like do all these things to make sure. It's a real needy place that we get to. And so when we say we want to let go, we have to understand that we're threatening our system. And so what does anything that feels threatened need? What does anything that feels threatened need, right? It needs to know that it's safe. And different parts of us that feel threatened will need different things, right? This is why, as a facilitator in this work, it's my job to know what is getting activated in you, right? Or to be able to mirror back to you what I see so that you can allow it to be true or not. Like, yeah, that's what's happening. I feel like a failure. I feel so needy, like I need more encouragement. Like, what would happen to our system if we released this like needy, oh, I just don't want to be so needy anymore. But that's part of you. You need encouragement. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody needs encouragement from time to time. What we want to make sure we repair is why that part needs encouragement. What is it about encouragement that this part is getting? Like, what is it getting out of encouragement? And is it something that's supporting your growth, or is it something that needs to be cared for, looked at, witnessed, held, repaired so that you can grow in a good way? Right? And so things relax in our system. The healing work helps to let things go so that they're no longer so front facing and so instantly triggered or instantly present. but it doesn't just like, it doesn't just like let them go out of your system. If anything, I want you to think about it like it lets it in, right? Like this part that just feels like it has to figure it out all on your own. Do you have that part of you? Right. And I know that in some way, this is something who, for those who really have that part, like it's all on my shoulders. I'm responsible for all of it. I've got to figure it all out. The woes of the world lay on my shoulders. This pressure, right? Like, this is so big, I can't handle it, but it's all up to me. It's all up to me. So when we say we want to let go, chances are we want to let go of like that felt experience of it, right? But the part of us that had that experience, the memory that lives, the ways that we hold on to that, those are things to let in, to allow back, because this is like this part just needs that. It needs to be let in and know that it doesn't have to do that anymore. And it needs to know why it doesn't have to do that and how it's okay not to do that, and get updated on who you actually are now. Because you're not, I'm just going to make up a story. Like you're not 7 having to navigate your parents' fight and divorce in front of you and like everything fall apart. And your job is to like try to navigate feeling like it's all your fault, and then also make sure everybody's okay and mediate the whole thing and try to stay peaceful. Right? So what do we do if we've had that kind of experience? Is that we take that into our adult life and we play that out when that part of us is triggered. Right? And so we get inundated with the triggers of the world. We can't escape that. Right? So when we talk about letting go, we have to remember that's in relationship with repair work. This is exactly the work that we do in Heal. It starts on Tuesday. So if you're resonating or you're curious, let's have a chat soon so that I can get you off the fence. I will be closing the cart 1 week after our first call. So if you miss the first call, like you're not missing the whole thing, whatever, like parts like, well, I missed one call. So like, oh, it's all over. Like, no, that's okay. We can pick up. So there's uber value in the program. So I highly recommend we chat. I like really believe in this work. I will never stop talking about it. I will never stop talking about how important it is, whether you do it with me or somebody else. All roads of healing lead to transformation. I just happen to really believe in the way that I do it, and the way that I've been mentored into doing it. Not just because I know it works, like I embody the working of it, even in the times of the dark night of the soul, but that I see it have a beautiful effect in those around me that join me in the journey. Yeah, so that's what I want to say. I just want to make sure it's clear that letting go is identity work, it's healing work, it's mindset. Excuse me, it's mindset done at a very specific place, in relationship to the repair work that we're doing. Because we'd all love to change our mind about certain things. And why do we struggle? Because the felt experience of the beliefs that hold up what we want to let go in the first place are still there and will be there. Okay, let me just check the comments, make sure I'm not missing anything. To be free. Yeah, absolutely. Because what is freedom? Everybody's going to say, I want freedom. If I just started like plopping that into my copy or my marketing, like the words that I use, the frequency, the language that I use, I'm like, this work brings you freedom. Like everybody's going to say, yes, I want freedom. Right. But the idea that you're seeking out freedom presupposes that there's something that feels cagey or restrictive or holding you back. And most of the time, what that really is the way that we see the world, the way that we see ourselves, the belief system we have, the I and the I am that we believe that we are. Right. And so I feel very free. Right, in so many ways. In other ways, there's lots of places for me to feel less restrictive, right? So this idea of freedom, like there's definitely a place in your life where you're like, yeah, I feel really free there. And there's definitely a place in your life where I'm like, oh, I don't feel as free. I don't feel as spacious or as open or this idea of possibility. And chances are that's where we have conditions, right? Conditions are things like I have to have, 10 years experience before I can call myself an expert, right? It's these kind of rules that we put in place that are all totally made up. This is like all of this is made up. We're making it up as we go. I don't know what I'm going to say 2 minutes from now, even though I have notes. Like it's all made up, right? So your ability to feel free is in relationship to the conditions that you have around what's possible for somebody like you, how you feel about yourself, the limitations or restrictiveness that your system feels it has to operate in. In other words, what isn't safe? What doesn't feel safe? Whatever doesn't feel safe isn't going to feel free. Right. And so that's why we do work around all the different layers of fear. To say that this work clears fear is very umbrella. Of course it does. Right. But there's different layers and different flavors of fear, of what we're afraid of. I'm afraid of making a mistake. I'm afraid of letting people down. I'm afraid of the thoughts I have about myself, right? I'm afraid of my own self-sabotage patterns. I'm afraid of if I express myself that people won't have nice things to say about me, or I'll be rejected, or I'm afraid it's not going to work. Like we all have different flavors of fear. And all of those will limit our ability to feel free, right? Because if you have a fear of letting people down, I'm afraid I'm going to let people down, then your sovereignty and decision making is limited. There's a restriction there because you won't be able to do something that you perceive. Remember, we're all making it up, that you perceive is going to harm somebody, hurt somebody. I mean, we don't want to cause harm to people. Like this is like one of the big problems right now. It's like we're causing people harm left, right, and center because we're not embodied humans into the spirit and the wholeness that we are. So we're just harming people left, right, and center, right? But these are the conversations around freedom. This is about mindset. This is about healing. This is about shadow work. It always begins with, what do you want? What is true for you? What do you want? What are you working toward? And who do you believe? Are you that person yet? Do you believe you're that person who gets to have all of that? Which automatically reveals where some of the repair work or those sticky areas or some of the limited beliefs that we have or conditions that we have. And that reveals the different parts of us that are working overtime to protect us in ways they don't need to, and rather they need repair work. Okay, so then we start bringing in mindset. We bring mindset into a system that can hold it. Okay, all right. 100%, 100%. I am off. Again, Heal begins next week. If you're watching this replay and it's like a few months from now, I will always have more programs, but I won't be running the same one right after this. The next one will be a different investment level. It'll be a different time of commitment. It'll be just different. Okay. So this is a really great one to start that process. That's it. That's all. Have a fabulous day. I love you all to the ends of the earth, and I hope that you are well. I also have a free gathering tomorrow, and I'll put that in the description or the comments, or just go to my wall. It's like posted everywhere, community gathering. Love you all.